Kimberly Haney.
I'm Kirsten Rao, and this is what our kindergarten counting lesson would look like. So the first thing we wanted to do is have a quick pre-lesson on counting to 5 and getting them used to that idea before we brought it up to 10. So the first thing we wanted to have them do is have them count as a class to 5. So to do this, we set up a thing where you click on the number, they disappear, so they can visually see it count. So on the next slide, we were getting them used to the idea of frames. So to do this, we're dragging the same numbers they just saw into the frames so they can see that counting in the frames isn't that much different. On the next slide, we were getting them used to what we're going to do later. So this is having the frame and then having them having the question, how many more does it take to get to 5? So we're clicking and dragging the flowers into the frames and counting with them. So it takes 1, 2, 3 more flowers to make 5.
So after all the students understand the pre-lesson, we're going to move on to making 10. So we have this cute little video with a dog named 10, and everything he eats needs to add up to 10. So we'll show you a little preview of the video.
My mama got a dog and we named him 10. We named him 10. We named him 10. My mama got a dog and we named him 10. But I wouldn't name him 10 again. Why not? 'Cause he only likes things that add to 10. He only likes things with the sum of 10. He only likes things.
So this video is really great because it actually shows you the number sentence, so 8 plus 2 equals 10. So they can visually see what the number sentence looks like, and they can identify the numbers, and they can even look at the word 10 and how to spell it. So there's a lot going on in this video that is helpful. So we're going to go to counting to 10 now. So we're going to use the same format from before when we were counting to 5. So this is where the numbers disappear. So as the class together, we're all going to count to 10. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and lastly will be 10. Next, we're going to use the frames. So we're going to start dragging the numbers. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then lastly, we're going to use the question, how many more to make 10? So we're going to drag the flowers. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the students will need to understand that it takes 5 more flowers to make 10.
So all the previous slides we've had have been us, the teacher, teaching the class. However, the next few slides are going to be the students coming up and doing it themselves. So on this slide, we'd call on a student and have them come up and take the flowers and count themselves. So a student would come up and fill all the boxes, saying 1, 2, 3, 3, and then so their answer would be it takes 3 more to make 10, and we had to have them explain their answer, and the explanation could be as simple as I filled the boxes with 3 more flowers, therefore 7 plus 3 equals 10. And we would have them do another example like that again, calling on a different student. After that, we would turn it into a game. So we would call on 2 separate students. The first student would come up and fill a random number of boxes, whatever they feel like, as they count. So the first student, let's say they filled in 5, they'd call in a second student and they would come up, and their job is to fill the rest in and say how many more it would take to make 10. But this is turning it into a little bit more of an interactive game, and I think a lot of kids would have a lot more fun with it because they're doing it with a partner and they're coming up with how many flowers are originally in the box. We would have them do it again with a new group of 2 students. So we're getting more people involved, more interactive activities. Next step, we have a few games. The first one, what they would do is they would click and drag one of the fish into the fish tank, and they'd have to find the number that it would take in that frame to make 10. As you can see, if they get the answer correct, it goes up into the fish tank, but if they get it wrong and they pick a number that is incorrect, it goes back to where it belonged. So as you can see, this game, it kind of shows them if they're right, if they're wrong, but it's also an interactive game where they're clicking and dragging, and it's another visual activity. So we have another example of that with new numbers and new frames. So we get more kids up here, more kids involved.
So this is going to be our summary slide. So what they're going to do here is we have a column where the students are going to be making 5 and a column where the students are going to be making 10. So Kristen would be the student. She would take the fish and fill the appropriate amount of boxes, and then I would ask them how many more makes 5. So it would be her responsibility to write the number 1. And we'll be doing this. We'll have 6 different students up here displaying their knowledge.
So this would be our last kind of final assessment to the lesson to make sure that the kids kind of knew what we were doing throughout the whole lesson. After this, we could do another activity, but without the smart board or something like that.
And they would have their quiz at the end that would relate to this slide. And that is our lesson.